when my older kiddo turned 5, we started giving her a weekly allowance, a beginning step in teaching her about money and about being responsible with money. Now, the popular way to do this these days is to give a kid 3 jars: spend, save, and share or give, and have them divide the money into those jars. I think the goal is to get kids thinking about all the different ways to use money, and as a reminder that it shouldn't all just get spent on things for you. Honestly, I think the biggest thing my kiddo has learned so far is that everything is more expensive than she wants it to be. Now, the process of trying to teach a kid about money has made me reflect on this whole idea of what it means to be responsible with money. There are lots of ideas out there about what that means. Most of them have something to do with living within your means or making a plan and sticking to it. Some of them are also about using your money in ways that are in line with your values, thinking about where you spend or invest your money and how it impacts the larger world. But because we live in a capitalist society, the ideas of being responsible with money are nearly all related to an individual's ability to gain capital. If you have savings, you are deemed responsible. If you have debt, you are irresponsible. Even though we know, right, that a lot of debt has more to do than our broken systems, than with anything about a person's responsibility. But this is how we are taught to think about money. How money is tied to our self-worth in often harmful ways. I love the passage Julia read earlier in the service about the system of PEBs from Prayer for the Crown Shy, because it is so different from this. From that capitalistic idea that money as something to hoard for ourselves and in fact tied to our very worth. Responsibility in Dex's world is not about an individual gaining capital, but rather about each of our responsibility to the larger community. The numbers next to someone's name have nothing to do with your worth as a person. Debt is not a failure, but a sign that someone might need some help. Everyone contributes to the community as they are able, recognizing that each contribution matters. And everybody has access to both, and this is the part that I think is most kind of mind-blowing about this world, both necessities and comforts. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of the economy of church. No one asked you for payment as you came in the doors or logged on this morning, right? Just making sure. Access to our worship and programs, access to community and care here is not dependent on any numbers next to your name. We hope that here, at least, everyone can access the spiritual necessities and comforts. And the way that that works is that people have to have a certain sense of responsibility for the community, giving time and talent and money as you are able. We facilitate exchange through the community just as Dex describes it happening in their world. Understanding that making music and making coffee, caring for children and caring for our world, all of this is essential to our community. The give and take, the ebb and flow is a part of our covenant with one another. It's not transactional. And we know that there will be times when all of us are able to give more and when we will need to receive more. In the passage, Moscap asks, "But if there's no penalty for debt, what's to stop you from taking without giving back?" It is the essential question of any system like this, right? This is what everyone wanted to know from the old Universalists way back when as well. These were preachers who went around declaring that a loving God wouldn't send anyone to hell. And everyone wanted to know, if there's no threat of hell, what is the motivation for doing good? There is a story of Universalist circuit rider Hosea Ballou getting into quite the debate while sharing the road with a Baptist preacher. Finally, the Baptist got a little exasperated with Ballou and said, "Brother Ballou, if I were a Universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head, steal your horse and saddle, and ride away, and I'd still go to heaven." Now, Ballou was known for his quick theological wit and answered right back, "If you were a Universalist, the idea would never occur to you." Right? If only we were as quick-witted these days, right, as Hosea Ballou. The response, though, is not that different from the one that Dex offers to Mosscap. They say, "It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling." Both of these responses indicate a level of responsibility to one another that is core to Unitarian Universalism, to this idea of a covenantal faith. It is a kind of responsibility that asks something of us, that requires commitment, but at the same time has nothing to do with obligation or force. Now, sometimes I do wonder if having the threat of eternal damnation would make my job as a religious leader easier. Now, the answer might be yes. Y'all might show up more often if your Sunday morning attendance was linked to keeping you out of the fires of hell. And Stewardship Sunday would certainly be an easier ask, right? 10% of everything you have, or it's off to eternal suffering for you. Now, it might be easier, but it would be a whole lot less meaningful. Every so often, especially when I'm up here, I pause and realize how incredible it is that you all show up for this week after week. That you find enough meaning in what we do here to prioritize it above everything else you could be doing this morning. It is a wonder to me, the time and effort and money you all invest in this community, all without the threat of damnation. You are not obligated to be here, but you have made the choice to commit to this community in so many different ways. You show up here not because of fear, but because of love. And I imagine it also has something to do with a sense of responsibility. You've chosen to be a part of this community that's built on reciprocal relationships, that's grounded in mutual care. And what a beautiful choice that is. What a meaningful one at such a time as this, when the idea of reciprocity and mutual care runs so counter to everything we are seeing on the news. In a world run by fear, here we instead choose to lead with love. Unlike in Dex's world, what we do here is not the norm. Indeed, it's about as far from 21st century capitalism as you can get, while still existing within it. But we do, unfortunately, have to exist within it. Capitalism, that is. Even though we don't ask for payment for almost anything we do here, and there is no obligation to give your time or your money, the reality is that this community can't continue without financial support from our members and friends. We do have to pay for heat and electricity, for staff salaries and benefits, for paper and candles, for insurance and web hosting. The infrastructure of this congregation, the programs we offer, the community and care, all of it takes money to continue. So each year in February, we do ask you to make a financial commitment to our work in the coming year. As I've said, this is not a fee-for-service kind of deal. You don't actually get any more pastoral care when life is tough because you give more money. We don't have like a premium worship service experience that you can buy into. You don't even get any extra votes in our annual meeting when your pledge reaches a certain level. This may be one of the few places you go where you don't, in fact, get what you pay for. And that's a good thing, right? Your worth, your access to this community has nothing to do with the dollar amount next to your name. And so you may wonder, why then should I give? What do I get out of it? And my answer to that is as simple as Dex's. Maybe as simple as Hosea Ballew's. It's a good feeling. Whenever I lead exploring membership sessions, like I will after the service today, I tell people that in practical terms, other than that official vote you get, you don't really get anything different out of joining the church officially as a member, signing that big old red book. You could come and not do that. But it's a good feeling. It's a deeper sense of commitment and belonging. It goes from being the church that you go to being your church. You get to say that you are all in on this communal project of reciprocity and care. The same can be said for making a pledge, or for increasing your pledge if you've made one in the past. Substantively, you aren't going to get anything different. But it's a good feeling to participate fully in the give and the take, the ebb and the flow. It's a good feeling to be able to give back to a place that has given so much to you. And in this moment in our world, it feels good to put your money into a community that is living out the values of justice and equity, interdependence and pluralism, leading with love in a world that is filled with fear. So today I am inviting you in to this project of mutual care, this ebb and flow, this give and take. I hope you will not feel any guilt or obligation in hearing this invitation. I'm not going to threaten you with hell, even if it might make my job a little easier. And I can't promise you any special effects in worship or a quicker path to enlightenment or even a tote bag. But I can promise you that it will be a good feeling. That giving to this community will have meaning for you and for everyone who benefits from our work. That in a world where our actions sometimes seem like they have little impact on our fate, your gifts to this congregation matter. Now, I filled out my pledge form last night so that I could turn it in today. Can I do that? All right. I'm giving it to Dave and Kenna. Here you go.
Thank you. Your name
All right.
will go up on the poster.
My name is going to go on the poster. And I wonder who's going to be next. I hope you will join me, committing to this community of care and leading with love.